Hello and welcome to the first match of the Gladius 1 vs 1 Standard Speed Invitational. It's a match of Divine Heretic playing as Orks against Tidal playing Tyranids. And with me to help commentate, by the way, my nickname is Patuljak and with me are Red Lagger and Thentox. And do you want to say hi or something?
Hey, Red Lagger. Hello.
Hello, I'm Thentox. And so we begin.
And so it begins.
Okay, let's see. Spawns. Thentox Orc looks like he spawned on the Arctic next to the research outpost.
He has an Arctic Vault, so he has high research, and he has a desert pipe city. So this implies Dakajet. But in a standard speed 1v1, this is going to be very hard to achieve. However, if he gets it off, Tyranids are going to be pretty
lacking
an unfavorable position, let's say.
Yeah, Tyranids is mostly melee faction. It's very hard to hit the plane.
He does have some volcanic nearby and another, actually two sets of pipes. So he does not see it yet. Okay, he sees the one of the pipes, but going for a Cult of Speed build is a high possibility for him, I think, with some science. Let's look at Tyranid. Tyranid got some snow, which is important to get the expansion timings, doubly so on standard. If you don't get the 20% science, it doesn't work out the standard opener. So that's good.
He also has an ore field nearby, which will be good for his influence city, and a lot of cliffs, which will stop a lot of orc aggression. If he goes for Hive Guard, he can use this to shoot over, but Tyranids are primarily a range 1 faction as well. So that is not as advantageous as you might think. There's also a lot of rocks. And Tyranids do not like building on rocks because they can't consume them, they can't clear them, they don't get a bonus from them like other factions. And he has a Grox lower for biomass, but it's very far forward. And he has a firm pull, but that doesn't give a total bonus when you acquire it to biomass.
Yeah, he does not actually see the ore field yet, so it's doubtful. Oh, actually, never mind, I missed that ore field that the Termagant was standing on, my bad.
It appears that Tyranid is going for the mid-game push with a Tyranid with a production start on the Arctic.
Recaf is also not bad if you go for a Tyrant, which could be a possibility since Tidal, also known as EEE, Triple E, is more of a fast speed player than a standard one. So since he has an ore, I'm thinking maybe we see a Hive Tyrant, but we'll see what he decides to do.
So worth mentioning that Tyranids generally have a very slow start because they consume their initial units in order to get their settlers out quickly, whilst Orcs are very front-loaded and can be very aggressive early. However, there are flies, mosquitoes, blocking him, and unless he gets stick bombs with burner boys, this is going to be quite difficult to push through.
Yeah, but then again, if he goes for the cult units, those usually have less of an issue dealing with the beasts. But both players have opted to open with a book, so I don't think we'll be seeing any rush tactics per se. Even if Tyranid can still go for a tempo build with a Ravener spam and try to finish the game in mid-game, since book is standard for them to get a better expansion timing. I don't think we'll be seeing rushes per se.
Now, is Divine Heretic a notorious rush player?
I wouldn't say he's a notorious rush player, but he has a lot of standard experience. He's a very old player, so to say. So he usually, when he goes for greed, he goes for reasonable greed. Orc is not one of his main factions. It might be a meta pick, since Orc is considered very strong right now. But
how does Orc match up against Tyranids in general?
I mean, it
mostly depends on what Orc goes, right? We will probably see Devcoptas in this game. Devcoptas are good against Raveners, but they will suffer if Tyranid go for the monstrous creatures like Haruspex or Carnifex.
Yes, I noticed Deathcoctors are generally good against mobile factions because when you're against kind of a short range Alpha Strike factions like Tyranids or Drakari, one of the best ways to beat them is to scout out where they are and match their mobility. Because Alpha Strike factions seem to be quite squishy, and if you can actually get the jump on them with something that is nearly, if not the same ability, that's slightly tankier, you'll have a very favorable engagement.
Yeah, and we have a disconnect from Tidal. Okay, so we have Tidal rejoining. So the match will finally continue. I mean, I guess for anyone watching, it will be the tedious parts will be cut out, but
oh, it's fine. Or we can give a timestamp when it happens if people want to listen to our nattering and theory crafting.
Oh, yeah, but I think I'll just selectively crop it.
The Tyranid is dangerously close to the Enslaver. He might get enslaved next time, there is a chance.
I'm going to turn the music off because it's external, it's Dawn of War music. I'm not sure how that would work in copyright. Or it's fine if it's very quiet.
Kill on the dock.
Oh, I was
Maybe.
muted. I was talking like, I did a whole essay and I was muted. Yeah, Ork seems to be scouting around. I think what he wants to see right now is ore. And he queues up a pile of Deca actually in his city after the book, so I guess we'll be seeing some infantry play from the Ork using the fermentation pool or the grassland that he just took.
I saw the build for the Daka jet, where you start with a pile of Daka. Why? Is this because you can use the food, right? Because if you start with a cult of speed straight away, then you are only using ore. And it's like half the resources that you can use. But if you start with a cult of pile of Daka, you can use the food, right?
Yeah.
To get some... Like you start with one barrack and then you stay on this.
It's still a possibility, but knowing Divine Heretic as a player, I don't think he's a big fan of Deca jet rushing. But we will see, anything is possible build-wise at this point.
So you think he's going for Mega Knobs?
I think he's thinking of using that fermentation pool, yes. But I guess conjecture is pointless since we'll find out soon anyway.
Yes, we're hypothesizing, right? We're commentating, we're theorizing what's going to happen.
I mean, we don't see the cult of speed researched, I think.
You raise a good point. He did not research cult. So he's probably thinking about doing some infantry play. While the Tyranid did tech Hormagaunts, which means that we will probably not be seeing hero play from him, because usually when Nids tech their hero building on tier 1, they skip the tier 1 unit techs in favor of cheaper consumption.
Well, Tripoli likes to go heavily mixed on Tyranids, so he likes to do a little bit of everything. So we might, I honestly might, I think we might see Hormagaunts with a Hive Tyrant into Raveners. So, but he also likes doing early monster builds. Like he says that he's one of the few Tyranid players that goes early monsters. But if he's teching Hormagaunts, probably not.
Yeah, that's true. We could be seeing the Carnifex that he likes to advertise.
Carnifex is very vulnerable to tank buster bombs, and they don't deal with infantry that well. It seems a bit overkill in this. And I assume Raveners can deal with scrap jets and
that is true, but that would be true for the sister infantry or Astra Militarium infantry, but Orks suffer from the Carnifex because HP for Ork model unit is very high, right? And that's the damage that Carnifex is dealing.
Yeah, they are
he do not have a lot of attacks
against flash gates.
Yes, almost one shot. With a battering ram buff, I think.
So I thought I'd mention just for the record that EEE seems to be doing the Lobster opener for Tyranid, which is the fastest way you can get your melon tropes out, and it aligns even more nicely on standard compared to the alternatives. On fast, it's a little bit less important to do this opener to maximize your expansion timing, and it seems his Termagant is in a little bit of a trouble, but the Hormas that came out will save it from the dogs. He really
but the
does not
problem is
want to lose the units, he wants to eat them to get his opener right.
Oh, looks
well,
like
I think
Termagant is gonna die.
Well, sometimes when dogs are very low, they run away, but we'll see. Oh no! Oh
Yeah,
my lord!
loses the Termagant. Not great news. His timing, expansion timing might be a little bit off now, because you usually have to eat two Termagants when you're constructing the Aiden, and then eat the first Horma to speed up the melon trope.
What really screwed him was these Imperial ruins that blocked his city from finishing that Crew Hound.
Meanwhile, Ork is clearing on the right side of the map and getting relatively close to the Tyranid spawn. And he eats to accelerate the melon trope.
We're seeing Burner Boys and Tank Busters from Ork. Interesting.
Looks like aggressive strategy, or rather aggressive unit choices, which is interesting since tech builds usually tend to go straight to flash gits, in my knowledge.
If I reckon correctly, Burna Boys is good unit against the Ravener. It looks like Heretic is preparing for the Ravener push.
That would probably be the safest assumption as to what his opponent would be doing.
Because you have to take Overwatch, because it's a range 1 gun. So you have to eat Overwatch with multiple units, and Termagants are also very vulnerable to burners. I think it's a 2-tap.
And or getting really dangerously close to the Tyranid, which would be scary if we didn't know that he opened book, but the Tyranid player Tidal does not know that. So if he
Now
sees...
Ork can hear the Tyranid city, can't he?
The only clue that Tyranid player might get right now is the heavy armor. Getting heavy armor so early is a suspicious sign.
He could deduce the book opener from that, because he does see the boys right now.
Yes, they see each other. Very early game.
Yep, turn 19. And Divine has already cleared a path to the Tyranid cities, which is, if the Tyranid opponent manages to do that, he can sometimes block the melon tropes from expanding where the Tyranid player wants. So that might be what Divine is thinking of.
Although it wouldn't be terrible, because Triple E also has a pipe up here, which is not great for biomass, but it's good enough. Oh, interesting. Triple E has opted to settle the city further away to use the wireweed instead of the cliff.
Instead of the hole, you mean, probably.
Yes.
As opposed to settling on 10-21. But I think
I believe he is building Parak, right?
Yes.
From what I see.
I think why he's done this is because he can open the tiles onto these forests to get quick biomass to fuel a kind of early mid-game infantry push.
So I will explain this further. Tyranid, every time when he eats the forest with the city, he gains biomass from this. So the idea behind this is that Tyranid will place like 3 barracks there, and instead of building resource buildings, he will instead acquire tiles that are forest. Every tile is almost half the Ravener.
That's a good early strategy, but if you do this and then 30 turns pass, you could have just eaten the tile instead.
Now,
influence upkeep. Actually, even less than 30 because of the upkeep plus the cost of taking the tile. So I personally doubt that that's the rationale that EEE is using. I think he's just looking to use the cliffs and the wire width.
The Hormagaunts do surprisingly little damage to boys, only 5 without Toxin Sacks.
Yeah, it's not a good matchup for the Hormagaunts. Hormagaunts struggle with 4 armor. I mean, struggle. Also, the Hormagaunts do not have a Toxin Sack research, as you can see. But with a Toxin Sack, it would be like 8 damage to the boys. Still a bad matchup.
And Toxin Sack is a very awkward technology because it's on tier 3, which competes with about 4 or 5 very
Tier 2.
important tier 2, yes.
Yeah, you need to backpack it, but it's usually worth it to do it early, after you get your expansion tags, and maybe a Ravener unit tech if you're going for that. But he does seem to be producing some Venom tropes, which is probably not a bad choice, because Burna Boys do have ranged attacks on their flamers.
Yeah, well, the Burner Boy bypasses the range damage reduction because it's a flame, no?
Oh yeah, that was a derp. You're correct.
I think he's making Venom Tropes because the Toxin Cloud is good against groups of enemies, and it's also a poison unit, so it will be able to do a lot more damage.
The Toxin Cloud, the Poison Breath is even good against Meganobs.
Spore Cloud.
No, the ability on the Venom.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, it does pretty good damage, even against higher armor units.
Triple E is opting to make a biomass city that's not on an outpost, simply to acquire more forests, and I suspect that's because Divine Heretic has called an early sin, so he needs to prepare for a rush. What I suspect is happening is that Divine Heretic is trying to show early aggression to force Triple E into a more tempo-based stance, and is just going to use this to harass rather than actually try and kill his base, given that he opened book.
So, first game off to a great start with the tournament organizer forgetting to turn off sims, but luckily us with perfect information know that this will not matter. Otherwise, we might be thinking about a load. But I think it's fine in this situation.
Come on. Let's say the Sun versus Rush Simulator. Maybe. But I think the Heretic is playing the mind games right there. He's faking that he's rushing.
Yep, I agree.
The thing is, if he didn't open book, he could quite easily roll over this Tyranid army, just based on trades. One of the key pieces of information is that these boys do not have stick bombs, which either means it's a tech build that's a feint, or he is focusing on burner boys and flash kits, which he kind of, I mean, he's definitely focusing on burner boys, but... Oh, and he's tech def killer cans as well. I don't think he's going to have the ore to use them, but they are very difficult to deal with as Tyranids without hive guards.
He will probably just make 1 or 2 and use it to tank Overwatch. That's a very common use of the unit since you're producing mechs anyway. So you just move in, eat the Overwatch and repair with a mech, then continue. They're very hard to kill just with Overwatch.
Now the problem for Triple E is that because he's going very heavily tempo, he's put his cities in kind of suboptimal positions for the mid game. So if a Divine Heretic simply uses these Sims turns to harass, to cap, and to scale, whilst making Triple E sweat, and then actually attacking when he has his Meganobs up or his flash kits, this is going to be quite advantageous.
Not a fun time.
Yes.
Yeah, Raveners have a bit of a hard time fighting knobs, especially when supported by burners and flash kits. But he does have the option of taking lictors. He can get there around turn 50, I believe, on standard, or maybe turn 55 if he's smart about beelining.
And what he would use his lictors to kind of ignore zone of control to get to the Meganobs without getting overwatched on the burner boys.
Yeah, that is one scenario, but I assume lictors don't trade that favorably into burner boys, so he will probably still want to keep making Raveners, but lictors are a very good solution for knobs. And also starting off the turn and morale nuking before moving in with the non-infiltrate units.
Now Venom Thrope 2 taps a boy roughly. Maybe it's just under, depending on leveling. But boys nearly 2 tap a Venom Thrope in a city, so this is also quite dicey. And Venom Thropes are only 3 movement whilst boys get Here We Go.
Well, the bad news for the Tyranid is that the Burna Boys still one-shot Venom Tropes outside of city.
Really? It's 10.9 in the city.
You can check the Thentox
Almost,
if you click on
almost
the Venom
one-shot.
drop. If you click on the Venom drop, and then you click right, yes, and Alt.
It's like 90% damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a horrible thing for the Tyranids.
The Burner Boy costs 20 on standard, and the Venom Throat costs 40.
Yeah. So Venom Trope definitely isn't a unit to lean heavily into. It seems that he will not be doing monsters. He did not tech the monster building, and he's also adding barracks.
Oh, he's going for Raveners.
Yep. He already has one queued up in the main. He did make an interesting choice to settle the influence first and do the additional brood nests in there. The actual bio city would be better for that, I think, since it does give 2 biomass.
We can see right now that Triple E is having some biomass problems. He need to get this Malantrop ASAP to convert the influence into the biomass.
Yeah, he has a
It's
nice
hard.
bank of influence.
It's hard for him to spend this biomass right now. I mean, to get the biomass.
Now, putting the barrack on the biomass bonus, it seems small because a brood nest only gives you 2 biomass, and you think, well, 20% of 2 is not a lot, but especially on standard, you need to squeeze every single advantage you can get, because even one unit, being able to afford one more unit, can often decide games. If it's just one more unit that you use to finish a unit, that creates a morale level. That means they can't effectively counter you. It's game deciding.
And the thing is that he has access to both 40% influence and a lot of grassland forests, as opposed to 10% biomass without the ability to take the op. So opting for an influence eco in this situation would have been the better choice, in my opinion. But you have to account that he does not have perfect information. He does not see a map full of forests on grassland.
What do you think about this biomass city placement? Do you think it's a desperation tempo pick for the forest, or is it just a defensive play against a potential orc rush, or what?
It sounds like a It looks like a defensive play because he did see the orc boys very early, so I'm assuming that he's thinking about a possible orc rush right now, which is a scary thing to face, for sure. Also, his positioning seems to imply that he's awaiting aggression.
I suspect that he wants to trade the city just in case. If Orc do attacks.
A sacrificial city.
I mean, if you Tyranid city, if you just acquire tiles, you get loads of biomass, and then the orc player kills it. It's like not a huge investment for an orc player potentially throwing his army away.
But he does not seem to be going for that at the moment. Maybe in a little while. Meanwhile, Orc is having the time of his life, just clearing the map, taking ops, taking the orphan kills. He's very happy with the situation, I suspect.
Now Tripoli is probably waiting for this proverbial orc rush, but he must know that the only thing the orc can really do is take this Dracaro trader here. And I assume that Divine Heretic doesn't want to take it because he doesn't want to fully commit to an attack right now, and he would basically be trading an orc boy for free. So it's only a matter of time before Tripoli works out that he's not getting rushed and it was a feint, and then we'll see what he does then.
Yeah, his plan in any case is to acquire Raveners, and I don't think this will change. He's just playing defensively instead of trying to clear the map, which is unfortunate for him. Like
he can probably start clearing with the Raveners because they're very fast, and if he feels that the Orc is approaching him, he can just yeet them back.
Yeah, Divine also playing the mind games, calling for Simoth with no intention to actually attack.
An interesting defense option for the Tyranid will be to get the Spider Palais It's a tier 1 technology where it changes your city tiles into the wire width. So any unit that is enemy sitting on the city tile is taking the damage like he would sit on the wire width.
And very good for orcs because they're high model count and low armor.
If he does intend
Yes.
to eat, or rather claim a lot of tiles to eat the forests, it could be a good addition.
Yes, and that would allow Triple E to go more into the clearing of the map. He could go for the top corner.
Now Triple E is building on his influence city. He's building influence, but not on the influence bonus tile. Why do you think this is? Oh, it's because he opened the tile to claim the biomass, so he doesn't want to spend 3 turns acquiring another tile because it in this situation it's relatively greedy, and he will probably simply cap the ore field to give the 20% bonus after he's done building.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's worth acquiring the influence bonus tile on standard in this situation?
Yeah,
knowing what
I
knows?
think he should have went for the influence. The 20% is quite a bit when you stack 3 buildings on it and also take the ore. I mean, you can do your own math, not gonna go into that and judge whether you think it would be worth it. But I personally would have taken the influence tile, I believe.
The only explanation that I can give is that he's preparing for the rush on the left city.
Yes.
That I can see as the only reason why he did it.
Because on standard speed, opening a tile takes around 3 turns. Like this is a very big.
Yeah, with a negative loyalty of around -8, it starts to sometimes take 3 turns to take a tile or 5 turns to produce a resource building as opposed to normally taking 4 turns or 2 turns for tiles.
Triple E is venturing to start clearing now because he realizes that the immediate danger is not there. What he should be doing is he should be putting a sentry on the east side, either on the trader or holding this fermentation pool.
He seems
Because
to
if
have... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying because a Tyranid unit on this fermentation pool, it's in a choke point. So and he knows that they're not going to be looping around the right as much because of the river and the wireweed. So you'll probably get a good sense of how many orc units are near his base, and he can decide how many units he wants to commit to his city defense. Because currently this Hormagaunt is not seeing anything because of this forest tile. So there we go.
So currently we're looking at 2 barracks and a third being added in the main for the Tyranid, and 1 barrack in an expansion. So 4 barracks and 2 Aidentropons total, while the Orc is currently building his 3rd barracks and also has 1 mech yard. So while he does have 8.5 army upkeep as opposed to 6 from EEE, this might change soon since EEE seems to have more total production, and actually quite a bit more, two production buildings more. So
The protection tiles.
yeah, also that, good point. So if he starts to realize that the Orc opened book, we might see him start to become more aggressive.
The problem is that the Tyranid unit composition trades very badly into the Orc.
I mean,
Can you show me the Burna Boy? Can you click on the Burna Boy? Then, oh, he does not see the city that has the Ravener inside. I believe that he put the Ravener inside the city. Tripoli.
Venom threat.
No, it's a Venom.
a Venom Trope, yeah.
Burner Boy one-shots a Hormagaunt. Nearly one-shots in a well, this is a slightly damaged Hormagaunt admittedly, but
I think you
does
just
20 damage.
have to pick your poison as Tyranid, because if you're going for monsters, then you can face Tank Buster spam and what is essentially Meltas on your monsters. So I don't think you can avoid some bad trades. I think it's more about the engagement, because both sides can get units that one-shot each other at these lower tiers. Like a good addition for the Tyranid, in my opinion, would be Biowars.
Yes, but Biovore Spore Mines one-shot most Orc infantry.
And they also give
Only
you
Mega
some...
Nobs and Killacans have a problem.
Yeah, but it's quite a while before we see those hit the field, even with a book opener.
Would it be worth using Biovores early and then transitioning into something like a Hive Guard with a term against screening against the Megamorph?
I find that a good strategy when you're going for a prime with a Tervigon, right? I forget right now, the healer hero.
Tervigon, yeah.
Tervigon, yeah. Prime and Tervigon, since Prime basically provides the same thing that the SN Captain does, which is an immovable brick, the zone. You actually get the liberty of moving your surprisingly tanky range units around with more liberty that way. Because you still do not want to have Biowars and Hive Guards tanking, or rather frontlining. But it's hard to mix them into builds like Raveners or Monsters in high numbers, at least, because those are quite costly.
I mean, this Ravener the Despot is not even one-shotting a boy.
The question is, does has a Death Spitter? Is there an AP upgrade on this weapon?
Yes, he has
There
good
is.
Gabora.
He does have the AP upgrade, but he does not have the tier 6 melee AP upgrade yet, which will help
Isn't
with
it-
it. And the boys are also in the forest. Outside the forest, they do a little bit better. Still not a one-shot on white morale, but with yellow morale, I think it starts to become one-shots even in cover. Possibly, yeah. So I still think
The question
Raveners
is-
are a good option.
How much damage does the Burna Boy deal to the
For a
Raven?
Ravener.
Yeah, it's not pretty. It's 17 damage in the open, and also in cover because it's flamer. But still, again, it's a matter of numbers and engagement, I think, because both sides can inflict some heavy casualties on the other side at relative high move. Of course, the situation would be looking a little bit different had Orc not done a book opener.
I mean, if you didn't do a book, this game would be over very quickly.
I mean, it's still not that easy to kill cities, and he will start to pump Raveners relatively soon.
Now, if Tripoli was greedier and went for a Hive Tyrant, how would that look? Because the Orc can't really deal with a Hive Tyrant, but at the same time, it could just ignore it. Because it can only do one action per turn, right?
Yeah, it does reduce your total army size, but you do have a good point that it is basically an immovable object for the Orc in the early game.
I mean, there are mech guns, and they're
Yep.
very scary.
Mech guns are legit hilarious against Tyrant.
I think you need to pause the game. I think Tripoli is crashed out. Ay. Technical issues.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think we can take a couple of minutes of break. How are you feeling?
Yeah. So
I mean,
to eat another 25 minutes.
Sorry, what?
Oh, he's there.
He's just doing a
Okay.
big think. He's just doing big thinking.
Okay, somebody are life issues.
Sounds serious.
He's having an existential conundrum about why he's playing this game.
Or could be just some kind of cryptic message. He could be just like pooping. You know, technically it's real
Okay.
life issues.
Yes.
True. That's very important matter that has to be attended.
A man has to do his bowel movements, it is known.
Yes. Well, he's playing Tyranids, so he's fairly similar mechanic. Ooh, we got no, this Burner Boy got enslaved, but it's not going to matter too much.
Loyalty relic for the Orc boys.
So it's turn 33, and both players open books, so the army sizes are not crazy yet. We are looking at 12 bio upkeep from Tyranids against 10 food upkeep from the Orks.
Can this Burner Boy sit in this Crocs outpost without the city hitting it? Because the city's a 4, and then a 4,
He can.
then a 2.
City cannot see him.
So he could theoretically put a Burner Boy here and start torching these Hormagaunts for free.
Yeah, the city does not see over that cliff since it's not adjacent to it.
I thought if there is if there's one tile difference, it can, but not adjacent. I think this the city tile will definitely block it because it's the same elevation.
I mean, previously there was no tile, forest tile. It was empty, and city still couldn't shoot from there.
Oh,
From
this is a very
that's-
ballsy play from Tripoli because these Hormagaunts do not have Overwatch, and Divine Heretic sees this.
He seems to be baiting, except he seems to be baiting using his whole army.
Yes.
I mean,
There is
he has-
no way that he can punish if Orc goes on this.
We will
I mean,
see.
surely he realizes that the Venom Throats do not protect against Burner Boys. He's probably using them for offense and he's screening with the Hormagaunts. The thing is that these would be better if they were Termagants, because at least these have Overwatch. Oh my lord.
Walks into Burn a Boy Overwatch and then scratches some paint off their flamers. That was not that was not a happy occasion for any Tyranid fans.
The problem is that if you're going to use a scout or a lead, you need to have a follow-up. Because he moved his entire army into this defensive position around the city, and then he exposed another unit in the front, isolated, whilst not being able to respond if there are units here that he can deal with.
Yeah, you don't want to move into uncharted territory with one of your last actions. Divine seems to be playing it safe. He looks like he's giving the proper respect to his opponent. Being afraid of such a bold move, being some bait for many Raveners hiding behind. Maybe.
What's the typical amount of Raveners you would have at turn 35 as a Tyranid standard if you're going for a pure Ravener build?
Not a lot. You would usually, with a Ravener build, try to do a little bit of a higher Rex number at this point. He seems to be on 4 barracks, but it's still early. And he does have the
It's have to get
production
the Raveners. The only way you can get the Raveners so fast is if you can find the research in the research outpost. Early game.
Now, what's the logic of making 2 Alianthropians with a heavy barrack build?
2 what? Venom shops?
2 Alianthropians, the settler building.
Oh, just to have enough Malans and Venom shops, I'd assume. I also tend to do at least 2, because if you do lose Malans, it's really painful to try to restock on just 1 Aiden. And you can always just use the Aidens if you don't need actual units from it as an accelerator via eating for other stuff you want to produce. Since you do get the cost refunded at just some influence.
Now, a Tyranid reclaim is the same amount of production, but do you get a biomass bonus?
It's half. I believe that it is half of the production. So if you are making Malantrop for 30 production, you are getting like 15 from this. When you reclaim this. I mean, it's a small crane. You can look at this way.
Yeah.
And are you refunding the total biomass cost as well?
Yes.
I mean,
You
you do use it to produce units. You do need Melons and Venoms. I mean, maybe you don't need Venoms per se, but they're a good unit in many matchups.
So a Malanthrope eating costs how much in standard? 30. and you're typically getting 30 or 35 biomass, so you're doing an even trade. If you're reclaiming a unit, you are consuming about like 3 or 4, 5 influence to shift the biomass from one unit to another to boost the production time of a combat unit.
I mean, you
Tyranids
usually
have
eat to speed up buildings, but you can also, in a pinch, eat to speed up units.
Tyranids economy with units is interesting because, for example, you can get Raveners to level 6-5, right? And when Ravener costs 60, when he's level 5, he will give you 90, 80, 85, I believe, biomass. So this way you can make your army bigger, but lower quality in term of veterancy, right?
So how would it compare to build? Let's say this Idanthropum, one of them was another barrack. How would that compare? Like, instead of eating these Idanthropes into Raveners, why not just make more barrack? Or is it simply a case of you mainly do it for buildings?
Because as Patuljak said, it's hard to replace the Maladrops if they get sniped
It also gives you
by
options.
enemy.
I mean, like Venom Tropes and Zone Tropes are both very strong units. Like Venom Tropes shield your units via Spore Cloud and counter infantry units, while Zone Tropes are very good against armor, are very tanky in some cover or city tiles, and also provide counters to both mega units and heroes, with heroes being common in standard more than fast, because combat heroes stay relevant longer. So
Now, Divine Heretic is using tank buster bombs on these robots, which means they won't be available for the city. But sometimes you just have to do it because this robot is going to be messing up his entire reinforcement line.
yeah, but he's happy sitting on his 40% or rather 60% science.
It's only at plus 39, which surprises me, given that the mech bits yard is also a plus 6.
Yeah, it's 2/3 of a book, so essentially he has 1.66 books.
I don't think the Heretic found any research outpost from the outpost that he captured, right? No, there is one. But he is not blessed by the research outposts that he captured. Oh, there's a second one.
There's a lot of influence outposts on the Orc side. Is that particularly useful to maintain war, or do you just get it from fighting?
It is useful, because if you do not have the loyalty outpost, then you are typically sitting on WA 7, 6. But if you have good influence, then you will have 10. It's a little bit better eco, because you got loyalty. Of course, more attacks, right? So your units hit harder. It's a small bonus that will add up.
Divine does seem to have some ore issues. Maybe he did not play much since the ore salvage from kills got nerfed, so maybe he misjudged his ore situation, which will slow him down a little bit. I saw him skipping some turns of production on his crane in the main before, which will probably equalize the early bad trades and the lack of ops on Tyranids somewhat.
Now, Divine probably has to deal with this Poxwalker, but if he deals with it and exposes himself, Tyranid can jump on him. So he's probably just going to back off and not be seen.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Orc Vision, it isn't a very strong situation from his perspective to push into this city, especially knowing that he has a book and is sitting on 3 barracks currently. He seems to also have some eco difficulties, though. He is producing a Melanthrope, which will help to eat. He has enough influence to eat 10 times, so that's basically 300 bio that he can have via converting it from influence. But he does need melons on the field eating the good tiles for that. but that will help him with his Eco and Ravener production a lot. He is adding another barrack in the expansion.
I mean, he is a pretty good spawn. Like he has a lot of grassland forests around him to eat.
Yeah, if
But he
only-
might be regretting the city choice though, instead of putting it on the farm pool near his main base, in the choke point.
you mean the Grog's pasture?
Well, he could be putting it on the firm pool and acquiring the Grog's pasture late and abusing this choke point.
Yes, but remember that Orc was there when he got Malantrop. It was very scary to go there to put the city. I mean, we can see that Tyranids soon will have advantage in the unit in the field.
Yes.
But he has to use this advantage.
And he has to recognize that he has the advantage, which we do not know what EEE, or rather Tidal, I should get used to calling him Tidal, is thinking right now. But he could have spotted, as we pointed out earlier, the heavy armor on the boys and deduced that it's a book build. But you do need some standard experience to know the timings. And out of these two players, Divine Heretic is definitely the player with more experience, especially on standard speed.
How would a war boss be in an early engagement versus Tyranid? I assume pretty scary. Though even with armor, I assume Ravener's still maybe 3-tap him.
Yeah, he can be a liability. But maybe Lagger should answer.
If you get the heavy armor and you get +3 armor on Warboss, it's unless you get like 5 or 6 tiles to hit him with Raveners, it's hard to kill him in one turn. It's more like, does Orc have a pain boy? Because if you go for the Warboss, most likely you are not going for a book. So the pain boy will be late, right?
There
to
is
support the Warboss.
There is a build that Deimos, I know, likes to use on standard, where you just go book and then hero, and then start adding. I think it's book, hero, Mackyard, and then start adding actual infantry barracks only later when you have flash gits and are approaching knobs. And he basically uses the war boss to be his army in the early game. I think it's a build he only does into matchups where he knows he probably won't get aggroed on. But I have seen this build do well before.
What kind of factions would it bid against? I assume it's quite good versus Tau.
Like Tau, yeah. Or Tyranid is also decent, since Tyranids do open book, technically. And yeah, stuff like that.
Warboss is flexible there. Because if you see when the Warboss is flexible against the Tyranid, because if you see the Ravener, they can go for the axe. And if you see the Carnifex, we will go for the blade. So you can adapt to what is Tyranid doing for boss.
Now, Tidal is being smart and making biovores. The reason why this is good is because they can shoot without being punished, because they shoot from the back line, and their main gun can shoot over cliffs and over terrain. So he can sit behind the city and just shoot them with impunity. The only problem would be if he launched a spore mine and there is a burner boy overwatch, that spore mine is getting instantly deleted.
Yeah, but still Biovore is a very good choice here. And it's also easy to pick it up on the tech-wise when you're doing Raveners. I don't remember the details, but I think it's the infantry armor tier. I'm not sure. So
Yeah,
tier 5 we have infantry armor, Biovore, Ravener, Death Spitter, and sorry, not Ravener, Death Spitter for Ravener, and Zoanthrope. That's your choices at tier 5.
So maybe I'm wrong then. It's not a low opportunity cost to pick up Biovores with Raveners. But it's still a good choice here.
Extra infantry armor in a Ravener build is not particularly personal, right? They're so low armor that it doesn't matter that much. Maybe against Orks, because Orks quite low AP on the infantry builds.
It still helps. It's 27 HP. But yeah, you're right. It's against Orks that have Flamer with what? One armor pen?
Mhm.
And the flame rate is good.
So it's
But
starting.
not Mega Nobs.
It's starting to look a little bit scary. EEE is doing his 6th barrack. So when that's done, he will be on 8 total if you count the Aidens. And that's the thing with Raveners, like they're weak early, as all needs using the Lobster Opener are, but it does ramp up faster than other builds do. Like, I believe it produces more units earlier than a Carnifex build. So it's usually considered, Raveners on standard are usually considered the most cookie cutter opener that gives you the ability to project your power on the map the soonest out of all the possibilities. I have seen like some interesting non-book opener builds on fast speed, but I'm not sure how well they would work out on standard because the timing to get the Aidens and balance for expansion becomes even more horrible without book on standard than on fast.
Why is that?
I think it has to do with some breakpoints.
But surely on fast speed, not opening book is kind of more risky because there's more opportunities for other people to attack you.
Like, the distance to the expansion tech is lower overall. Does feel like that.
I think that the main reason why it is not so bad at fast compared to the standard is the value that you are getting for the outposts. So on fast, getting +2 research is better than getting +2 research on standard. This is the main reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. Outposts are stronger on fast, relatively speaking. I actually never thought of that.
On standard.
On fast.
Why? But you're producing more resources in fast.
Because
no?
The resource gain from the outposts don't change, but the tech costs are higher overall on standard when talking about science, for example. So +2 doesn't provide you as much value on standard as it does on fast.
I would have thought outpost matters more on standard because the relative importance of moves is greater on standard, and the
relative importance of what? Sorry, didn't catch that.
Of outposts.
I mean, you can grab more of them earlier, so you can squeeze resources out of them for a longer time overall. But like I said, with costs and values being reduced on fast and the value from outposts remaining the same, they just provide more value on fast, even if you have less of them.
Which is funny because fast rewards the turtling and tech reading more than standard, right? But the outpost, but map control on fast is also better. So
a lot of it is about defender's advantage with the favoring grid, because distances remain the same, or rather movement stats remain the same, but units are produced much faster, which means that the aggressor will get reinforcements slower than the defender. And on standard, the gaps between getting new units are bigger, so it matters a little bit less.
Of course, the city defense, right? You get the +33 bonus to the defense on the city tiles.
Yes.
And the Mega Bastion, that is city, right? That still helps.
Now, in terms of barrack count, Divine Heretic is making a Mega Nob in 2 turns, so he'll probably wait until he gets about 3 and then probably attack. And unless Tidal has an answer to this is going to be quite dicey. I assume Raveners don't trade particularly well into Mega Nobs because they have too much armor.
So the difference between army upkeeps is becoming more pronounced. Currently, EEE has 10 more army upkeep at 25 compared to Divine's 15.
I mean, Divine went for... I mean, they both opened book, but Divine's power spike is starting fairly soon. So he probably just has to wait it out, no?
He does have 40% more science for that book and a mech yard. While EE does have 8 entropons, but he doesn't have as high of a psi bonus. So in long term, Divine will edge out science-wise. But it's not as pronounced yet, but like Nobs hitting the field will be the first power spike that he gets from book, realistically.
Now, how is Tidal supposed to counter Meganobs?
Like I said, Lictors trade relatively well, definitely better than Raveners. But I think you want, like, at mid game, you want a mix of Raveners and Lictors to deal with knobs efficiently. And the
But don't
surrounding units.
Lictors are kind of inefficient because they're very squishy and a lot of Orc units are quite chaffy.
They're not that squishy. And they get to ignore both Zone of Control and Burn a Boy Overwatch. So they go in, nuke a knob, morale goes down, and then you're a little bit safer eating Overwatch and trying to one-shot units.
No, because Flamers do not care about morale because they have fixed accuracy.
Yes, but you will always screen your Lictor. Like you are going in with Lictor first, and then you go with Raveners in front of the Lictor. That's probably what Patuljak is trying to say.
Yeah, it just gives you engagement options as opposed to Ravener, and they also have way more damage per tile than Raveners have. So you can just use them to nuke the knob frontline, demoral everything, and then, you know, use some melons to eat Overwatch or some chaff, or use some Biowars to reduce model count before eating Overwatch. You have options then. But without being able to efficiently open knobs, you don't really have that many.
Now, using a Malon to eat Overwatch is interesting because Flamers, because it's a single entity, you're not going to do very much to it. The problem is that Malons are very slow. They're only 3 movement compared to a Ravener's 5. So a Malon would have to be quite close to the front line in order to lead that engagement, which leaves them vulnerable to an Alpha Strike.
Yeah, but like if you get Alpha Striked, you prefer the enemy targeting Melons than your actual combat units. Still. And if you eat Overwatch with a Melon on like stuff like Burna Boys, you can just bring a Hormagaunt in and use the Melon to provide a little bit of extra damage to two-shot it.
So, for example, if you look at the Ravener, right? So you see that he has further away from the Malantrop, preferable. So you see that Ravener only have 4 morale. So it is very easy to demoralize those guys, but it is very easy to gain all the morale back, even if you lose the Malantrop, right?
Yes.
Most of the time you need like one blue, maybe two blue Raveners to bring your army back to the blue morale by doing this. I mean, of course, it's bad to lose the Malantrop, right? But it's like Patuljak said, better to lose Malantrop than Ravener.
Yeah, units, you're always gonna lose units. That's just something you have to accept and be, you know, selective about. If you try to avoid losing units, you're usually limiting your engagement options.
Now, even though Tidal's unit upkeep is higher, this Orc army looks pretty scary. Like this Ravener is one-shotting tank busters, but it's going to struggle against boys with just a sliver of HP remaining. And
level difference.
Oh yes. Does it one-shots a bind and open? At the same level?
If he's yellow morale, then he'll one-shot. I mean, the question is how many Orc units can he remove in one turn, right? If you look at the Meganob, when you asked earlier about how do you deal with Meganobs, I do believe that the best option, of course, is the Lictor, as Patuljak said, but to screen the Lictor, you probably need to use the Hormagaunt. Can you show the damage? How much does the Meganob deal to the Hormagaunt? So
surprisingly a lot, because there are quite a few attacks on their claws.
Yes, they have a lot of attacks, but if you compare the damage the Meganob do to the Ravener, it's similar damage.
Oh my lord.
So you would rather have 3 Hormagaunts to tank the damage than 1 Ravener.
Just for the
record, there is
I'm doing a quick be right back, but the auto camera should do a good enough job.
Okay.
I mean, the difference between attacking a Ravener in the open versus one protected by a Spore Cloud is huge. It's like 5 damage. Oh, it's in. Oh, sorry, my mistake. It's in an outpost.
Oh,
I couldn't see because of the vision.
I mean, we see that Heretic is going around for the sneaky city attack.
Tidal can hear this, right? can hear the
It might-
clinking in the fog of war.
Yes, but it's one neutral. Don't like a lot of fighting there. But attacking the city is hard when Raveners are so close. You can reinforce the city very fast.
I mean, when you're dealing with an Alpha Strike faction, ideally you want to surround a wide area and try and work out where they are. The problem is that these cliffs and the fact that these cities are very close together means that it's very difficult for him to not get attacked by Raveners because he can't find them and Alpha Strike them or position accordingly.
But yeah, it all comes down to, I think, both of their armies can be utilized to nuke a big part of the opponent's army, given the right engagement.
One problem that Tripoli might have is getting finishes, because some of these damage breakpoints aren't a clean kill. All you'd have to do is you'd probably have to put a Ravener up to a boy, shoot it with a Bivol because it has blast, and then finish it with a Ravener. But this is 2 cost 45, or on standard it would be 60 cost units for
that's
a
one of the
20
reasons
unit.
why I want to utilize your melons to actually help get some of the initial kills.
Hmm.
They do get the, what's it called, the spit, the vomit, toxic something. Miasma, maybe?
Toxic miasma, yeah. It's always worth remembering that you start off with template and blast weapons because they hit more models. When it's hitting one model, it does very little damage.
Definitely something worth remembering.
A lot of engagements were lost because of forgetting about the blast, not template.
Yeah, like target priority and efficient and clean kills are very important because that way you're essentially multiplying your army as opposed to like inefficient kills.
Now, Tidal could potentially contest this relic because if he wipes this this small orc force, he can't see it right now. But assuming he went in and he took the relic, if the orc main force is northeast, so you would have 2 options. He could try and go straight for the city, or he could try and move down and counter. The problem is that this is a very narrow choke point, and Raveners are so fast that they could come and do a counter attack when the orc tries to go for the city. The orc probably wouldn't kill the city, and then the orc would lose all his army for this.
I mean, this force is too small to kill the city. It's very hard to do anything with this small.
Yeah, it
force.
might be just posturing, you know, power projection to play mind games with his opponent.
Yeah. Like Heretic is waiting for the Meganobs. If he gets enough Meganobs, it's kinda very hard for the Tyranid to do anything.
Yeah, he's gonna need lictors to efficiently counter his army. But that's the eventual goal of infantry builds of Tyranids anyway, WSO on standard.
Weirdly, I see more infantry builds transition into Trigon.
Yeah, I think Trigon is just such a strong unit on team games, but it's also a unit that's not easy to get reliably early on standard speed. Which I think is better because, like, the lower tier units, like up to tier 6 or so, are basically deficient. They have deficiencies that you have to play around and plan for, and you have to use different units to support each other and get efficient kills.
So how would that manifest in this matchup?
Come again?
How would that manifest in this matchup? Like, what kind of combinations would be troublesome?
I mean, troublesome in what sense? Sorry.
Like you're saying that the lower tier units are deficient and need support. So what would be some examples in the Orc versus Heretic matchup?
Well, you have to use, for example, if you're going infantry as Orc, for the biggest part of the match, you have to use a combination of Bastas and Burnas, and Boys, of course, due to some being range 1, some being range 2, and damage per tile being more limited with these units than with knobs. Like for example, knobs do 28 essentially to Raveners. And while Burna Boys do well, they do 17.5. When you factor in like some morale issues, some positioning issues, some units not being at full strength, it just becomes easier to do efficient trades with units like knobs than with a combination of, you know, Bastas, Boys, and Burnas. So
Tidal is poking with these Hormigons, which is typically you kind of want Overwatch units on the front line, but Tyranids Overwatch is not particularly good. Do you think you should be leading with Malanthropes?
it's basically non-existent, but Raveners can do some work. But maybe not so much in this matchup. I think he's thinking of the possibilities of near one-shots with Burna Boys and stick bombs and so on.
Termagants could be very good unit right there. But Termagant have a problem to reach, to defend the Raveners after you strike.
Yeah,
Alpha strike.
Hormigons are better for eating Overwatch and for flanking due to their superior move and the ability to ignore rivers. But the Overwatch from Termagants is quite handy, yeah.
Now, Tidal is going to aggro this Catachan nest, because he knows if he stays in this position, they might start hacking at him. The problem is that now he has to deal with 2 more devils that are going to start attacking him, and he doesn't have a Turvigon to heal his Raveners. So if there's an engagement early after he has to deal with these devils, it's going to be quite problematic for his engagement. Here we go, they're going after the Bioballs. Didn't take a model off, thankfully, but...
It's probably the best target that Frave Tripoli got attacked. The second one didn't even hit anything.
I think it's a good idea to like do some clearing just to get levels and the science from Melons nearby absorbing. But I think the fact that he positioned so far from the main might become an issue for him.
Divine Heretic is back-tech stick bombs for his boys, which is something you don't normally see if you go banners, but I assume he just wants more chaff clearing power.
Can you click on the Tyranid city top? The top city? Can they see the Orc units there? They do.
Yes. Yeah.
He does see the boys.
It's they have three vision range.
He sees the boys, but he doesn't know if whether it's just a scout or outpost capper or a real threat. But I think he will be a little bit scared at least. He does have a Byword coming out, which can maybe check it out a little bit, although the rally point is quite far.
It's generally best not to do a two radius rally point unless you have 2 units coming out at the same time, because it reduces your flexibility.
It's currently 34 upkeep versus 20, so the Tyranid player does have a more sizable army upkeep-wise, and approaching like having twice as much. But the unit quality, like, it's funny to say that Orc unit quality is high, but like in this matchup it actually is, since like Boys, Burnas are near one-shots on Raveners. So again, I think it all comes down to the engagement. Looks like he is going for some Burna Boys.
That is a very strange move, because he put this Hormigaunt here, and now his Hormigaunt has not done any actions this turn. What probably would have been better is he sees the boy, he launches the Swarm Mine, he sees the boy, he attacks the boy with the Swarm Mine, finishes it with one of these units on the left, maybe this Manthrope, and then hits the Hormigaunt, hits the with the Hormigaunt. Because currently he's used 4 units to kill a Burner Boy and a boy, and this Hormigaunt didn't do anything, and now it's a free kill, assuming there's a force here, which there isn't.
He's still protecting his other troops from the Burna Boys and Meganop. It is not so bad, but there is one critique that I can give, is that when he started attacking the Orks, he should start moving from the back
Yes.
of his army to attack the orcs, because he started moving from the front, and if there were more orcs units inside the forest, there was a possibility that he could not reach the raveners that were sitting behind.
Also,
Tidal
he
could
showed
try-
a commit on the bottom city, but which means that his main is wide open. Divine
Yes.
could go aggressive here and inflict quite some damage on that city.
Tripoli could launch a spore mine here to get more vision and potentially get damage on this boy.
Probably
'Cause
better
if
for
he-
him to save it in this
Yes.
situation.
This is true, but he could have put a spore mine here, and then he would see that there is a large orc force here because he knows there's at least one unit.
He could have put a spore mine on the city tile and move it into the city.
Yes.
That would have been legit, I think.
The
Looks like
Maghanop
gonna
will be very, very important there to kill the city, or at least damage this hardly.
He's checking for Roach right now. Sees the city is empty. He's going straight in. Now Raveners can respond quite quickly, but these Raveners are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. They're 2 turns away from being able to engage in this fight.
There is one Ravener that can support next turn, and 2 Biovores.
Two, but the Biovores can launch spore mines here. Thing is, if he launches a spore mine here, this burner boy is going to immediately kill it.
It's quite an interesting situation because the orc can maybe kill the city, but if he does not and gets cleared out, that's actually most of his army right there. And while he will get new Meganobs to try and defend the counter push, if he overcommits on killing the city and leaves his army wide open and EE sweeps in, it could be a bad situation for him. But right now it looks like a positioning mistake from the Tyranid player. He does have 2 more Basta bombs to use on the city, but he could use the Biowars next turn if he's smart to target those boys, or rather Bastas.
Yes, Orc can lose like half an army next turn if Tyranids makes the proper moves.
The
Yes.
problem is that I have a strong feeling that there's going to be a spore mine launch around here, and the burner boy is going to eat it, which could potentially decide the city's fate.
Yeah, that's why it needs
We-
to be done smartly.
We did see, Tripoli did see that, yeah.
Oh,
He did see
ouch.
this burner boy.
Kind of good that it was even that the Hormagaunt ate it rather than a spore mine.
Yeah, something getting hit was unavoidable there, more or less.
Now, Tidal needs to move from the back. He needs to use these Biovores first because they are slower and they have the greatest stretch range of about 9. Oh no, he's not using a spawn mine? Oh no, he launched one.
Yes,
Yeah.
he don't have one.
He actually has only 1 Ravener that can reach, but
This Ravener should kill this tank busta, and then the damaged one. Oh, that was a mistake. Right there.
looks
Well,
like
we
there's
still
one
can salvage
bomb
this.
up, but it still could be okay because I don't think Divine can kill the city.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
that's still a kill. Almost.
He can use his Hormagaunt, or is that moved? It's moved.
yeah, he cannot finish it, but he can move the rest of his army to strike next turn.
Now, spore mines on Meganobs are actually quite good, aren't they?
And they deal like 4 damage, if I recall correctly. Oh,
Raveners start to trade well into knobs when they're red morale. I think it becomes a 2-shot at that point, but it's not a good trade for Raveners before that. Because they need 3 shots to kill a knob, while the knob almost 1-shots them.
Venom traps can be very huge. I do believe that the poison from the Venom trap deals a lot of damage to the Meganobs. The breath attack.
Yeah, could be. Let's see what the Orc decides to do next turn. Does he go for the city or go for the army?
I mean, he knows that he can see what he can see: 2 Raveners and a Biovol, and these Raveners are easy kills, right? Like this, you have to get rid of these Raveners because if he doesn't, they're just going to start eating these tank busters alive. Like he's done city damage.
Yeah, going for the units is probably the correct choice here. He did do a lot of damage to the city. It will be devastated, which will hurt the Tyranid eco. So probably the smartest move is just being satisfied with that right now. And it does seem that Divine Heretic is thinking something similar. To almost eat an entire Ravener unit. That is.
And then the Burner Boy can finish it.
The lone Burner Boy.
The big boy. That's about all he can reach without walking into City Overwatch, though.
Now, are these things in range of Ravenous next turn?
It's hard to set up the Overwatch with those tank boosters because they're gonna get chipped down by the 3 Biovers next turn.
I think the Venoms can do quite some work here if he moves his units in the correct sequence.
He needs to start by moving this Mammothrape out to remorale this Venomthrape, I think.
He needs to use the Melon to finish off the Burner Boy, I think. But that does eat up a precious spot in front of the Meganops.
He could poison him over the cliff. That's the option.
That is an option, yes. He does not see the Nob waiting to reinforce from below next turn, though. 1 Nob is quite an unit for this phase of the game on standard speed. On fast, on turn 47, it would be pretty much whatever, 1 more Nob. But on standard, 1 unit can mean a lot.
It's amazing on standard speed how much, 1 unit out of position can decide a game. Like, he needs to think very hard about where he wants these backline Raveners to go. Because he could, if he can't finish this Meganob and he exposes this Ravener. Oh, here we go.
Let's see how the Venoms do into the Nobs with their ability.
Oh, 2 of them.
Should be a top shot.
I don't know, because if the model goes, right, the template is less effective, right?
He's probably gonna need help finishing it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can the Mammothrape finish?
Which is...
That's a hard job for right now to do anything there.
He's probably gonna have to leave it on 1 model and
yeah.
use just chip damage down.
I think like the way he played it, the best move here is probably keep the Raveners in reserve. Although it's kind of awkward because he will lose those Venoms if he does that.
But here's the thing: is that Divine Heretic has to move his force down, and he only has 1 burner, and these tank buses are not going to do anything to a Venomthrape in a forest with 50% range damage reduction. Indeed. And there's this threat of these 3 Biovores that are constantly chipping them down. So I'd say Tidal's actually in a pretty good position here.
Those Biovores are earning their cost. Definitely putting in some work.
It's always difficult attacking Tyranid cities because you know that they either have hive guards and Biovores shooting from behind the city, or there's a horde of Raveners ready to pounce on you when you've committed actions to doing city damage, and then you lose your army. And on standard speed especially, that's very punishing. Yeah, Divine Heretic can't really do very much here. These Venomthropes are kind of walling.
Yeah, he did do good damage on the main city and good damage to the eco, but it does mean that he's out of position to properly engage here.
These Burner Boys are one-shotting the top Venomthrope. This is crazy damage. Oh my god, he's losing 2 Venomthropes this time.
Losing units for Orc right now, like the lower tier units, is not even a bad thing, because he does enable him to clear some food upkeep and add more barracks. where otherwise he would be forced to build food.
Interesting, the Megadol went for the Biothor, which is actually probably the higher value unit right now. Because he knows that in order to kill this Meganob, Tidal is going to have to commit more troops. And then then he can counter-attack with the tank busters.
Yeah,
Well,
the
that's two
Orc
enemies.
has been trading much more efficiently in this engagement. If you
Question
look
is, does Orc have a better Or gather? You can click on the Orc unit and then hover over the trait that the Or gather on the right. No,
Scavenger.
he does not have a research on the scavenger.
Perhaps he does not know the value of it because he hasn't been very present lately, what with his girlfriend keeping him busy.
Well, you know, girlfriend's temporary. Was the war in Gladius is always raging and
Eternal.
never stops. Yes,
They're the ultimate boss of Gladius players.
yeah, real life. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the Tyranid at this point needs to do some smart trades to stay in the game now that mobs are being produced en masse, so to speak.
He has to get this Meganob off the field, though. When these Meganobs reach critical mass, he's going to be in a world of pain.
Yeah,
But he can't kill it. Is the problem.
he just can't trade efficiently into them with Raveners without like some other chef units being around to demorale them by killing them. Like
Maybe he needs Hive Guard at this point.
yeah, Hiveguard could be a good choice to bridge the gap to Lictors. It's turn 38, so he does have the bioweapon symbiosis, which the melee AP tech on tier 6, so he could be pretty close to Lictors.
Isn't it tier 7?
36. It is
Tier
36.
I thought it competes with Grey Matter and Trigon.
Trigon
is tier 7.
Yeah. You do often get Grey Matter before you get the melee AP, but like in this situation where you're fighting, it's correct to go for the melee AP first instead of the eco boost. But yeah, it depends. Does he have Grey Matter? He does seem to have it, I believe.
Yes, he has.
2 loyalty from
He's-
units. Is this?
So he's probably
It's-
attacking Lictor.
It's a relic.
He's probably
it's a
attacking
relic?
Lictor right now.
So city, if you look at the loyalty, every other faction is supposed to lose -12 from the cities, but Tyranids is getting -10. So he does have this technology.
He also has recap on his main, so it's better to look at the expo.
Yes. I mean, leaving Meganobs on the field is a scary thing right now.
Yep.
The Tyranid player opted to kill the squishy Orc boys.
But the Orc is also out of support units to finish units with after attacking with Meganob, so he might just retreat here.
And they're very
Happy with the
dispersed.
trades.
Tidal needs to just run these units down, get them off the field. Now, can he counterattack his city with 3 Raveners? It's probably not enough, isn't it?
You need like 6 to cleanly kill the city if it is undefended.
But right now, Tidal could chase because the knobs do not provide much of an overwatch as opposed to Burna Boys.
I will be right back. I will leave the map on the battlefield view.
So yeah, overall, I'd say that the trades were relatively favorable for Orc, even if he mispositioned a little bit by doing the damage to the main city for the fight that followed. But I think he's comfortable in his position if he manages to defend the counter-attack.
I do believe that Orc is building for barracks right now. I cannot check this right now because Thentox is not there.
Yeah, we should. I should probably stream the next time so we can all watch the same version. But what do you want to check?
Is Orc building barracks right now to close the bridge, the gap between the production?
Well, the Orc is doing second barrack in the expo, and he's doing, and he has 4 barracks in the main. So if you count the mech yard, he will be at 7 production in 3 turns, and he's currently at 6 total. 5 of those being not productions, while EEE is at 6 barracks for Raveners and 2 Aidens. So it will be equalized soon. So I think EEE really needs to get the Lictor tech up and also find a way to keep up his eco to actually be able to support them. But he does have still a lot of influence banked, so it will not be an issue for him for some time, I believe. He
You
did
can
not
see that Triple E opted to stay in the city. He did not go for the any units.
for the chase, yeah. Which, I mean, it's easy to judge when you have perfect information like we do. He might be afraid of what else is he hiding to hit me back with. But I do think he should have chased here. Because he did kill most of the Orc army, even if he did lose quite a bit in return. The upkeep is currently 25 for Tyranids and 14.5 for Orc. So army size is still on Tidal's side. And part of that upkeep for Orc is that Wounded Knob and Wounded Tank Bust are returning home slowly on the right. So Divine does need to play defensively right now.
The tank booster can be very useful for finishing kills later on. This is the only range 2 attacker right now.
Yeah, he should probably not produce pure knob even if he can. It's better to have some range units to help finish. And also maybe even some Burner Boys, since the Overwatch did work quite nicely against Tidal so far. But the nice thing about Lictors is the Infiltrate, among other things. EE, or rather Tidal, would probably also be well served with doing some more chaff units to scout with, because right now he has to commit his more valuable units like Raveners or Melons to get vision and check where the enemy is. He also has, aside from the Melons, no good units to eat any potential Overwatch with, although right now...
Yeah, or Screen Raveners from the Meganobs.
I mean, Overwatch is not big for Orc right now, but could change.
I'm
He's
back.
producing some tank busters now. Welcome back. Or rather, he changed his mind and queued a Burna Boy. So I think he realizes that pure knob is still weaker than a proper mixture of units.
Yes, I find in standard speed a mixture of units is often more advantageous, whilst in fast you can get a mono spam high tier.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why that is. I suspect it's because you're fighting more of a mixed force on the other side because of the tech costs, right?
No, it's just the high tier units being generalists and usually versatile and at home in various situations, whereas lower tier units are usually more specific in their usage. So lower tiers force you to diversify more than the higher tiers. But I mean, I don't want to bash Fast. Fast is great.
I mean, it's a different flavor, what people like. Standard is more tactical, where Fast is more like big armies clashing with each other.
I see Standard as the hardcore version of Gladius, because each unit matters more, and the ecos also tend to be a little bit harder to manage, because you can just triple book and bank up a lot of resources while you take up.
Why is that?
Well, because the fights happen around the same turn. Like, what turn did we see fighting start in this game? I forget.
In War was 25, but the real war fight was like 33, I believe.
Something like that. So it's similar to Fast, but on Fast you would be on higher tiers already at that point.
Yeah, at this turn, Astra Militarum could have like 2 Limon Races at this turn. If the spawn is very good.
And like you would have to you would have to account for the enemy possibly doing books and having some kind of mega unit that you need specific answers for at like turn 40 or turn 45, which leads to there being more polarized scenarios more often. In the sense of okay, so I'm doing this build, and this build at this turn provides the opponent with something that I just can't answer.
Man, this Meganob Overwatch completely demolished that spawn, man.
Yeah. Twinling shooter,
The only
baby.
time when Overwatch mattered on Meganobs.
Yeah, I mean overall it's a very small part of their damage, but it does exist. Like sometimes even units like Assault Marines can cause some awkwardness for the opponent with their Overwatch by taking off a model.
And as a Drakari main, range 1 Overwatch is my biggest nightmare, because even, as a submarine with a bolt pistol, it's taking 3 witch models off an inland. Something like that.
He seems to be going in, which while he's having issues actually finishing those Mega Nobs, Divine does not really have a lot of reinforcements in position. So,
yeah, I think he's just trying to stop the Meganobs getting to critical mass, even if he's trading. Even if he's not finishing them, there's only 3 Meganobs, and he knows he can't have that many at this stage.
Having a superior position and finishing, munching some units over multiple turns is a valid approach. When you can't, like, one turn KO units.
It's even good this sense that those units are, damage heavily, so they cannot do anything, but they are still eating the same amount of upkeep. And it damages the economy. But I don't... can you show the Orc City, Thentox?
Divine is having, like, some relative food issues, as in Mega Nobs costing quite a bit, and him being able to produce, like, quick calculation, almost 2 Mega Nobs per 3 turns. Wait, what am I saying, actually?
We can see the interesting
Almost, yeah.
choice from the Divine Heretic, that he built another building and he disabled the book on his capital.
Yeah, because he doesn't go, his infantry build on Orks doesn't go anywhere after Nobs.
Yeah.
So that's smart from him.
The only thing after the tier 6, after the Mega Nobs, you can get some eco boost from the loyalty. It's tier 8, I believe. It is so late. Well, research where you get more loyalty for the cities, which means better eco. And of course the ore gain from the kills.
Yeah, I mean, he does have some good ore available on his second expansion, the city named Death Rock. So he could, like, diversify and get some battle wagons or some other cult of speed units instead of just adding more barracks for more Mega Nobs. And often Orc players in Standard, after platooing at Mega Nobs, they start adding like a couple of armories for battle wagons, just to extend that.
Even the new unit, the Squiggle boys.
Yeah, those could work as well. Since, wait, do they have split upkeep in combat, or what did we do? I forgot.
Yes.
Yeah.
They cost the same amount of resources as a Mega Nob.
Yeah, so they're
a little bit squishier. Yes, they are a little bit squishier, but much more mobile compared to Mega Nobs.
Yeah.
So why would adding a battle wagon be more advantageous than fast? Is it just because you're not facing a kind of a brick as much, and you're kind of more inclined to use tactical plays?
No, I didn't say that it's more advantageous in fast.
Sorry, on standard even.
No, I mean, it's just something that players typically do after Mega Nobs. While on fast, it's usually better to go for strategies that scale more than Mega Nobs, like Deca Jets or even Hogs, since from Hogs you can go into other cult of speed units. Like even the Ravener build for Tyranids is better on standard because lictors stay relevant longer. While on fast you will get to lictors, they will be strong for like 10 turns maybe, and then they will start getting outscaled. So this obviously has impact on the viability of certain builds. But anyway, Tidal seems to be clearing up that small orc force of Meganobs. And I don't think he lost anything, did he?
He lost a Ravener, I think.
I think he lost something because we do not see any heavily damaged unit right there.
Yeah, we should probably pay a little bit more attention to that. But it's fine. Just guys doing their best. So yeah, I think Divine has to get the hell out of there and wait for the attack on his cities. He does use a Meganob in the forest to try to provide some buffer for that wounded Meganob to maybe not get finished off.
You can see that the Tyranid player is running low on the resources right now. So this will hurt him at some point.
You mean the
The
Orc
thing
player?
is that
No, the Tyranid. Can get like 4 more Raveners before his economy choke.
Yeah, he still has a lot of eating available, but it's on a timer for sure. He is adding more influence over time, and he's taking the ore outpost in his influence city now, but like those barracks could have been influences. And he could have built the barracks in the other city, other expansion, which would give him a little bit more eco, like being at plus 19 influence for an influence-based eco is not very high. But he still does have a lot of bank to hold him over for some time. But I think the one on a bigger timer right now is the Tyranid player, but luckily for him, he's in a slightly advantageous position army-wise right now. So he can still leverage that.
the problem is that he's probably not going to be able to push this Orc force because there's too many choke points. He has to do all the city.
Yeah, but like he does not know this, but the Orc has quite a lot of wounded mobs and does not actually have a lot of units fit for combat right now. So it might be tough for him to defend efficiently if the Tidal decides to go all in.
There is a Purna boy coming next turn. It might be huge for him.
Big
You should
Burner
probably
Boy.
keep it on Overwatch.
So yeah, looks like he does opt for going all in, realizing that he's in the better position at the moment.
So I mean, he can still shave off a model on this Meganob, though he could have done more damage if he opened with it.
Yeah, he's probably gonna use the Biowar.
There we go.
Yeah, I think Divine has to start relying on the city Overwatch to buy him time. The moving the knob in the forest to buffer might have been a non-optimal move considering how many combat-ready units he has.
I mean, the game started to shift after this city attack, where he didn't get the city kill, and then he started losing units. And on standard speed, it's slower to replace them, and Tidal is capitalizing on this.
Yeah, I mean, it did cause damage. Like, I didn't check when it fully healed, but it took a couple of turns, and that devastation didn't help with his eco situation. But he did lose a lot of units indirectly because they were out of position to respond to the Tyranid coming in. Which is why he's in this, let's say, submissive position right now.
Oh, risque.
I knew that would get a reaction out of you. So Divine opts, instead of finishing units, to inflict maximum casualties right now, to be as safe from retaliation as he can be. Which is probably a smart move, because it looks like he recognized the situation as well as we did.
Tyranid player cannot kill this knob in the forest because the cliff is protecting this knob from the attack from the back. And if Tyranid wants to kill the Burna boys from the right side, or finish the Meganob going from behind, he will have to face the city damage Overwatch.
Divine
And
is
city
a very...
Overwatch.
Sorry, finisher.
And city Overwatch is very harsh for the Raveners, range 2 even.
You should probably just take it with the Biovores.
I think Divine is playing pretty smart defensively because the only viable tile to finish the Burnus is 1811, which takes one tile away from killing the Meganob. Because he won't be able to finish it just with Mana Drops, exactly. And he can just use a Wounded Knob next turn to finish that one. Probably also that one. So it might work out for him.
Very desperate attack from the Tyranid. Trying to
I
damage the Meganob.
Sure,
I mean,
but he knows he needs to stop these Meganobs from reaching critical mass, even if it means throwing his current units at him.
That is true.
I mean, he might be better served to use those low HP Raveners to eat them and recover some eco. But you have a point in saying that there is some pressure on him to pull off aggressive moves.
The thing is, he can't actually punish the city with this force, so he's probably just trying to get the Meganobs off the field and retake map control.
Yeah.
And fix his eco problems before the next stage of the engagement.
And make his eventual lictors as impactful as they can be. He still
I get a feeling he's not going to go for the lictors.
Maybe it's better to go for the dragons instead. Because
he
has 6 infantry barracks. I don't think it's a viable transition at this point. I think lictors are his only realistic scaling option.
Or Hive Guard.
He could add some Hive Guard, yeah. Would probably be good.
Now, I don't think you can even kill a Meganob in an outpost with 3, 4, maybe 4 Raveners, but... Now, this Ravener on the cliff is stopping... Oh no, it's not stopping yet.
Yeah, Divine is just buying time for his units to heal up and amass again. He has a tank buster that will be ready for action next turn, even if it's a little bit far. But if the Biovores move even more to the right, he could utilize them next turn. He does opt to use the Wounded Knob to finish some Raveners.
I mean, currently Tidal is on 2 Raveners and 2 Biovores on the front, and even though he's done damage, this is, 5 Knob spots.
Yeah, it looks like he overstayed his welcome a little bit. But I think you're very right in... Tidal probably feels the pressure right now with the Meganobs on the field. And still no Lictor tech. He's moving back. Lick his wounds and regroup.
Licks his wounds. What we should be doing.
It will be very hard city defense from a Tyranid perspective right now. The moment when Orc player amasses like 8 or 9 Meganobs,
it's true.
It will be very hard to punch through this. Probably, like Lictor, combination of Lictors, Hive Guards, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much damage they deal to the Meganobs. But
It's
Lictor's Hive Guards...
He needs a finisher. He needs a range 2 finisher, and a Biovore is too low AP and too low damage to do that.
Hive Guards and Termagants to screen the Lictors from the Meganobs.
But he really does need those Lictors, because like looking at the scaling situation, it's very similar. Like even if Divine has all that science, or rather a better science situation, both players' builds stop scaling at tier 7, essentially. So if he does manage to reach and amass some Lictors, he could do some good trades and even out the field again. But until then, he's now the person in the submissive situation. At least to
Can you
us
tell-
who have perfect info.
Can you Thentox show the economy graph?
Yeah, Tidal graph is spiking because of the eating. It has some issues with being translated into graphs.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see that Divine Heretic's food eco fall off pretty hard when he started producing knobs. They are very expensive on the foot, very taxing on the foot. He will have to switch to cheaper units. Right now his eco is actually in a bit of a, how do you say it? Thentox being the
Kill.
resident British. Can you help?
Sorry, can you say that again?
What's the proper termage?
Well, termage isn't a word, but yeah.
Ah,
Look at him making fun of us. I mean, so let's say that his economy is in the pickle. I think that's how he said this in British.
What's the word he used that he wants correction for?
I forgot, honestly.
But
But like,
that the economy of Orc player is in a harsh condition right now.
It's in the shitter.
okay, sure.
In the gutter.
In the gutter is the less British version, probably.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the less British it is, the better it is.
Oh yes.
Anyway, I think right now the Tyranid is in the better spot eco-wise. I missed when, in my previous assessment of the situation, I missed that Orc has such big food issues.
Yeah, I mean, this is. He had a difficult outpost layout because he has farm pools but no grox, and he has power but no ore. Or I guess there are volcanic rocks here. He could have settled on this trader. But
Interesting situation regarding the Discord discussion that happened before this game, where Pona was claiming that Orc has no food issues whatsoever. But I guess he was talking more about the spam than the Meganobs.
Yes. To be honest, even Orc cities do not have good food tiles. Can you click the Control Z, Thentox, for a second?
I think it works on the spectator.
If you click on the city, Orc city, and then do it again, Control Z.
Just tell me which one you're clicking so I can follow.
Oh no, there is a +6, but it is with mushrooms. So without the mushrooms, it would be +30, +40. So I mean, those tiles are good, but it is not amazing, right?
How did you get the
It's not Grox.
tile information?
Grox
You
still.
You need to click.
Just keep mashing buttons until it works. I got you.
No, when you click on the just Orc city, then you will see. If you click on the Tyranid city, you will see biomass modifier instead.
Yeah, the pressing Alt Z kind of bugs my game, so I avoid doing it.
Control Z, not Alt Z.
Yeah. Like the thing that displays the resources as a spectator, in any case.
Now, how are killer cans going to be trading here? We didn't do as much to Ravenous as I thought they would. The Ravenous actually do a lot to killer cans.
I'll be back.
Killer Khan is low armor.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
It's only 7 armor unit. It's more about the HP pool that this unit has. Most of the time, Orc units have very big HP pool, but armor is on the weaker side. Infantry, I mean, of course.
The Divine Heretic's actually pushing up again. Interesting. He probably thinks that just by having 6-7 Meganobs, that's going to be enough, which he's probably correct about.
Judging from the Tyranid play, where he went in with one model Raveners, Heretic probably recognized that Tyranids is, out of units. For some time at least, when the attack was in the progress. Oh, we see some lictors being produced
Ooh.
in 3 turns. Expansion City is doing this. But can he make a second one?
Gonna be.
No. He cannot do the second one. He do not have enough Malantops to eat the forest. And at some point, the Tyranid will eat all the forests, right? On the map, and then he will not gain any more biomass from this.
Or he would have to start eating the forest around the central location, which is problematic. It's very close to the Orc force.
Yes, it is not good. I will be back in 2 minutes too, Thentox.
Alright, I'm back.
Lagger, be right back, and as soon as he leaves, Patul comes back.
Yeah, I mean, perfect timing, I'd say.
Lictors are being produced.
Very good.
But
I do like to see
eco
some lictors. It's a very under-respected unit these days by the fast players.
I imagine it's pretty good in standard. Though.
I mean, it's good in fast as well. I used it like in the tourney game in the last fast speed tournament 2 versus 2 against Mono spam and eventually Obelisk spam, and it did well. I mean,
did you have a prime to lower the armor?
No, I had zone tropes to debuff them and slowly chip them down and trap them. Because lictors ignoring zone of control means you can set up some tricky situations for the opponent. They're a very good unit. I don't know why they're so under-respected. Like they used to be very, very feared back in the day.
I guess it's just because Trigons exist.
I mean, power creep, and yeah, Trigons on fast are they just come around too fast and provide too much value via tunnels and also being a great unit by themselves. So that's also one of the reasons why you see less lictors on fast. But I think it's better, like if you go Ravener, I think it's better to commit to infantry than try to transition to monsters. Transitioning in this game is pretty hard, especially as nits, because your eco is usually on the edge, especially as influence.
I think most players, when they do Raveners, they don't hard commit to like a 6+ Rex Ravener. They tend to go 4, use them as a stalling unit to get to Trigons, and obviously mid-transition is in some ways easier because you can eat into buildings.
I mean, people go too greedy. Like if you make 6 Rex for Ravener, that's with the Aidens that you have, that's the upper limit of what you can support without pop. And if you make pop, you cannot go 6 Rex before further developing your cities. So,
well, just because you're spending resources on the house and then the resource buildings afterwards.
Yeah, it's actually quite a bit of cost when you like account for the time it takes to pay back, like actually get working resource buildings and some time for them to provide value. It's it's not something you should do every game. And like 1 versus 1 logically has less people building pops because I mean, do I need to explain it?
Well, like you're under pressure all the time.
Yeah, you're under pressure and you need to carry your weight. You cannot like be, okay guys, I'm gonna do like reading for 10 or 20 turns or something, so just cover my ass. Nope, you gotta be ready. So it's really not about the speed. Like even on fast speed, it's even in team games often optimal to not go pop. But of course, like going no pop requires experience and good planning. So usually the more experienced people do it more.
I always get bullied for not building Popper's Tower, and I just never see the point of it unless I'm going for a
it's baked into the mechanics by Utopia. Like it's heavily suggested that you play that way when you look at the mechanics.
Tidal has eaten the Malanthrope to get this Lictor out, so it's an interesting choice. Given his eco is struggling and he needs to be using those Malanthropes to eat forest.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice, but I guess he just feels like he really needs those lictors on the field right now. And he's not that wrong. Scary.
I mean, 1, 2, 3. I mean, you have 8 Meganobs. Oh, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 7 Meganobs staring you down. You need something fast.
Yeah, that's a scary situation for Tidal right now. Of course, he does not know the exact knob count, but I think he knows that he's outmatched with mostly Raveners. And the Biowars are also not pulling their weight, as there are less chaff units. He can still utilize them well, but he did well not overproducing them. Like 2 Biowars right now is the perfect amount.
Now the problem is that well, here's the trade, right? So a Mega Nob costs 60, and a Lictor costs 120, and a Nob does more damage to a Lictor than a Lictor to a Nob, but the Tyranid has the Alpha Strike advantage.
Yes.
So he needs to wait, ideally stall out the Mega Nobs, use the city until he gets about 3 Lictors or so, and then he can start hacking them down. Because if he engages with this Lictor early, it's just going to get instantly targeted, and then he's going to have. He's not going to be able to actually win.
He needs to wait for the commit from the Orc and maybe sacrifice some city HP, and then come in, and also buy some time for more Lictors to be made. But he is chunking down the chaff units with the Biowars.
Biowars are very exposed.
Sorry?
Right now. The Biowars are very exposed right now.
Indeed they are, yeah.
Attack.
He might lose them.
I mean, he's lucky in that it's in a choke point. And if this Mega Nob goes for this Biovore, there's a lot of space to get 3 Ravener hits to kill this Mega Nob.
Yeah, he needs to envelop, but he does not. The numbers are not on his side when you consider unit quality.
I mean, yeah, if Tidal had 3 Lictors, these Biovores being exposed could be a good bait, but currently he can't actually punish Divine Heretic from going and killing these Biovores for essentially for free.
Yeah, I mean,
given that there are these cliffs around as well. Like if this Mega Nob goes for the left Biovore, he can't. I guess there are 3 tiles, but he's not going to get a kill in counter.
Yeah,
the biggest saver for the Orc right now will be the Burna Boy, because he does not care about the morale. Because if Divine Death Heretic do opt to go for the Biowars, next time he's gonna lose probably 1 or 2 Mega Nobs, and this will put all the Orc units on red morale. But since Flamer can
really suffering from not having enough mana drops right now. He is unable to produce units in his expansion.
This is looking very scary for Tyranids right now.
Yeah, he's gonna need a good engage to win this one.
As much. Oh, he's doing both of them. Okay.
So
he can't.
Losing the Biowars is not great since there is still a number of chaff units in the Orc army.
Now he has to decide whether he wants to lose those Biowars for free or he wants to counter push right now. But if he counter pushes and he uses 3 Raveners to not even kill a Mega Nob, those 3 Raveners are going to die the next turn, and then that's game over, I think.
Yeah, technically he has a little bit more upkeep than the Orc, but yeah, unit quality is an issue. Because Raveners are what, tier 4, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so it's a tier 4 unit versus tier 7 unit. It's not gonna be favorable most of the time.
The problem is that if he doesn't go in on this and the Mega Nobs go in on the city, he can't really kill the Mega Nobs in the city because they get damage. They don't get city; they get range damage reduction. But these cliffs are actually kind of hurting Tidal because he can't get the Ravenous around that he needs to kill these Mega Nobs.
He doesn't want to give them the city tiles because along with getting reduced damage for the Nobs, it also reduces the space that the Tyranid can use to surround and actually finish off units.
But the problem is that he doesn't have the unit mass to actually contest them in the open. Like his options are quite limited right now.
Yeah.
And there is a fresh Lictor coming out, which he might put in the outpost to do the initial engagement. He kind of has to go in now.
It would have been better probably to not lose the Biowars, or rather not expose them and wait a turn for that Lictor and maybe for a bigger commit from the Orc. Looks a little bit rough right now. He's thinking. I can almost feel gears grinding.
Yeah, the cogs churning.
It's a very hard position.
Big thing. If you put the Bibles in the city tiles, it would probably mean that a Meganob needs 2 hits to kill it. And because the Bibles aren't particularly useful right now, apart from on these tank buses and these mechs.
Yeah, and the limited space would be an issue for the knobs as well. So probably using those city tiles with the Biowars would have been the better move. But he did have some burners, so he could use those along with the busters to shoot over the cliff and do some damage. So maybe he was afraid of that.
Is he used grasping tail? There we go. Just debuffing this knob so it can't do too much damage.
Yeah, when the melons go in, you know, it's
This
shit is getting real.
Ugh.
I don't think we can kill. He can kill this Meganob.
No, it's gonna be very hard. He cannot.
But I mean, the space is also not advantageous for Orc either.
Yeah, but the counter.
This is a strange play because he's trying to attack unit that he's debuffed. So currently he has a debuffed 1 model. No, it probably would have been better to. Like,
Yeah,
if you're
I
going
think
to,
the Ravender can even kill him
Yeah,
if you right click.
it's better to probably better to like
and then use the melon
kill
or
one-
something else.
yes, kill a unit and debuff the full strength one. But he's using this Ravener to stop this Ravener Overwatch to stop the burner boys.
I think he's
Going
feeling the pressure. You know, it's easy to judge with perfect info, sitting
Of
and
course.
watching someone sweat. But I think he's feeling the pressure, and when players feel the pressure, they're always gonna go make some mistakes. We saw some mistakes from Divine as well this game.
Mhm.
So, but overall, it's turning out to be a relatively close game. We're on turn 61. There's been a couple of fights, but it does look currently like Orc will murderize the Tyranid army. But we will see what happens. Getting his army in position, going from the back, as is correct, and now he can just morale denuke. He just morale nuked everything.
Oof, this is rough.
Yeah.
Can a Meganob kill it? Oh, a Meganob can one-shot a Lictor now. That is rough.
Yeah, that's rough. Lictors are even more of an Alpha Strike unit than Raveners are.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's very ouch.
There is still a Killakan
He
with
does
a
get-
tank booster.
He does get a Lictor out that can reach that mob next turn, but looks rough. He has 4 Raveners left, and the Orc still has some actions, so he's gonna have even less. Looks very rough. I think we're looking at a GG, honestly.
There is nothing that Tyranids can do right now.
Yeah, he's gonna have 4 units. That's maybe enough to kill a knob and chunk another knob, and then there's a ton of units ready to murder him.
The only option right there is to probably sacrifice this food city to buy time. But then if you lose the city, it's kind of, you're getting outscaled anyway.
Yeah, even then it's gonna be rough. Like, this is just the power of knobs getting on the field early enough and in a format where you can just easily get high tier answers for that kind of unit. Knobs are to be respected much more than as on fast. You can see that he just can't punch through. Like a critical mass of lictors and some melons debuffing, maybe some chaff to buffer after lictors do their killing. That would have given him a chance against this orc composition. But
Maybe it was a smart idea to eat some Ravenders or even maybe Biovores for
Yeah.
the more lictors and then get the Termagants
I think Bywars were
slash
still
Termagants.
worth a lot to deal with those tank busters and burners. But yeah, maybe you do have a point about the Raveners. Raveners just don't perform that well anymore.
And Tidal scored GG.
So all you need to have is 4 lictors killing 2 Meganobs per turn. And as long as you can protect the lictors, then you're fine.
Looks like Tidal enjoyed the match, even though he lost. But yeah, the winner of the first match of the tournament, Divine Heretic versus Tidal, is gonna be Divine Heretic, who will be advancing into the quarterfinals, and the Tidal is going to be dropping into the losers bracket to play either against Danagar or Thentox, whoever wins the
He'll be
other
playing
match.
against Danager, but don't worry about it.
Sorry?
He'll be playing against Danager, don't worry about it.
I was expecting a Lagger type game.
He probably means spam.
Yes, spam of low tier units.
But yeah, pretty fun match. Had some back and forth, but Knobs win the day. So thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.